Hi. So, slight errata at the beginning. We don't usually do this, but I got the name of the game wrong numerous times in this episode. Partially that's because when I do my notes, I don't put the name of the game in there just in case Safi glimpses my notes. The name of the game is Tales of Berseria. So, just keep that in mind. Thanks. Enjoy the show.
Lore Together is proud to be part of the Boss Rush Games Network. Feel free to find out more at bossrushgames.com/network. Hi, I'm Safi.
And I'm Mystic.
And this is Lore Together. This is the podcast where a husband and wife team go over all the storytelling, world building, and characters of video games. Because it's what we like to do together. We lore together.
Yep, and this is episode 69. Now, before we get into the episode, if you'd like to contact us, you can do that on Twitter and Instagram at LoreTogether. You can do it through email at loretogether@gmail.com. And if you like this podcast and our streams and all that stuff, and you'd like to support us, you can do that by going to your various podcasting platform and giving us a 5-star review. Or going to Patreon at patreon.com/loretogether, where you can pay a per episode pledge to get early access to episodes as well as other stuff that we're working on.
Yay! Let's continue on to episode 69.
Yep. So I'm not going to make you guess what game we're doing because it's going to be difficult for you to guess. I am going to see if you know the franchise we're talking about, though.
Okay.
So we're going to be talking about a RPG series that started in 1995.
Okay. Yeah, I probably wouldn't know it off the top of my head.
And it started on the SNES from Namco.
Okay, I probably know of this series one way or another.
Any guess? It's okay if you don't know.
I was going to say Xenoblade Chronicles, but I really do not think that's it. I don't think that's it. It's some other series. I know it's not Final Fantasy.
No, because that's Square. This is the Tales series.
The Tales series?
Yeah, Tales of blank. That's what all the titles are. They're originally developed by Wolf Team, part of Namco, starting way back in 95 on the SNES. Wolf Team eventually became Namco Tales Studio. Very creative name.
Got to in those mergers.
Yeah, and is now simply part of Namco Bandai Games due to, as you said, mergers and stuff.
Hooray.
There's 18 mainline games in the franchise, a chunk of spin-offs, and a few animes.
I feel like I should know so much more about this than what's coming to mind right now. Like, that's just, I was expecting some title where I was like, I saw it at a Blockbuster when I was a kid or something, which if you're too young to remember what Blockbuster is, don't be worried. You're not really missing much. It was when Netflix had a storefront. But
even before, Netflix used to send you DVDs.
Yes.
And before Netflix was sending you DVDs, there was another company called Blockbuster that you went there to get DVDs. It was like a library that you paid for.
And it was VHSs originally, and then it was DVDs.
Yes. If you want to know what VHS is, ask your parents.
And yes, there were libraries that did have movies, but they was not nearly as extensive because people thought of it as leisure time. And the same with video games.
Now, I have not played any Tales game aside from maybe an hour of Tales of Symphonia back on the GameCube.
Oh, that's part of it. Tales of Symphonia is one of those. Okay, so I definitely have heard of that game. P.S. I just want to say kudos. We have finally gotten out of this last decade, and we're going back in time because it's been, 3 or 4 months of super recent games that have been published since 2016.
This is not going to be different.
Oh, dag nabbit. I was going to congratulate you for going back in the past.
I will next episode.
Okay.
In fact, one of my friends considers this Tales of Symphonia his favorite RPG. He has called it his Skies of Arcadia, given my love of Skies of Arcadia, which was episode 8. If you want to listen to me break down that game. And we're about halfway through our cheated long play or let's play over on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, a long play would be the whole thing in hours, and we're not doing that because Skies of Arcadia is days of playtime if you do it right.
Yes.
So
one thing about the Tales series is there's not a main thread. A couple of them will be related to each other, but mostly they are completely standalone, akin to Final Fantasy in that way.
Okay, cool.
Also, like Final Fantasy, ask some Tales fans what the best game is, and you will get every single game as a response by somebody.
Okay.
It's safe to say they all have some merit.
Yeah, well, I do remember specifically hearing of Tales of Symphonia and
that
having
is
a lot of
widely
praise.
considered one of the better ones.
Yeah. Okay.
So, we'll be checking out one of the more recent games in the franchise, Tales of Berseria, which
not heard of at all.
Which came out in 2016.
We were busy getting married,
yeah.
So we would have missed this entirely.
It is connected to the 2015 game Tales of Zestiria. But this is the prequel taking place centuries before that game, so I figure it's the best place to start.
Oh, wait. So they're like released on a yearly basis almost?
Not always.
Okay.
Yeah. And from what I've seen, the general consensus also is that Tales of Berseria is the better story. So,
interesting.
You'll see why a little bit. Tales games tend to be very heroic and very good guys.
Okay.
We're going to get a little bit away from that in this.
Oh, a little bit more nuance.
Yeah,
all right.
I imagine we will eventually hit all of the games, much as we will Final Fantasy. On that note, we should dip back into Final Fantasy at some point, so look forward to that. And if you want to hear our breakdown of Final Fantasy X, check out episode 35.
Yeah, there's like another 20 games of them, even though we haven't gotten a Final... Have we gotten a Final Fantasy 20 yet?
No.
No. But there's definitely 20 plus more games that dip
I
into
think there
that.
are, but there's a lot of side shoots and offshoots and stuff like that.
That's very true, yeah.
One last note. Breaking down this story into an episode was difficult. We are going to do broad strokes over quite a large swath of the game. Just the cutscenes in this game alone, you're talking 9 hours.
Wow. Okay, so forgive us if you feel like there's a detail that we should have mentioned that we didn't. We will do our live stream the Thursday after this publicly releases, and you are more than welcome to join us.
Yes.
And tell us about everything we did wrong, or you can add us at Lore Together on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy to bow down to your superior knowledge, you super fan you.
Now, as I said, I had never played a Tales game other than that brief hour, whatever, on the GameCube. And so the opening of this game kind of threw me a little bit. It's a little bit weird. We start with an animated opening. Anime opening. And the animation is really good in my opinion. But I don't watch a lot of anime, so don't at me if you disagree. Instead, give us anime-based story games that we can do for the show.
We would be happy to play those all the time.
So, in the intro, it's the Scarlet Knight, a rare occurrence in this universe. We'll dig more into that in a moment.
Oh, okay.
And we see the small town of Abal is under siege by demons. Though they look more to me like werewolves.
Oh,
they're called demons. Either way, dark forces abound. Arthur, a stoic man with white hair and blue eyes, is running with 2 children, Velvet and her younger brother, Laphicet.
What are these names?
This
is getting... I'm not going to be able to keep up because when I'm hearing these names, I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Velvet and Laphicet?
Yeah, Arthur's not his real name either, so...
Oh, great. I barely remember there was an Arthur because you told me about Velvet and Laphicet.
Well, Velvet's not too bad. Honestly, when I was writing this, I kept wanting to write Violet, though.
So, funny you mentioned that. I played a mage character once that was named Violet Velvet as her mage name. To which I had a friend call me out on that and say, you realize what you were actually saying with that? And I said, actually, no, because she's like a Southern belle who's very goody two-shoes. So she had no idea what she was saying with that. Kids, if you don't know what she's saying with that, neither did she. You don't need to know.
So the kids trip on the path, and Arthur takes them aside, saying to hide. He's going back for Celica. Yeah. We'll get to Celica.
Celiac disease? What? Who's this?
We'll get to Celica in a moment. This is basically a very quick, cutscene, and then we'll get more detail in a minute.
Okay.
So after he leaves, the kids hear a scream. Likely, it sounds like Celica. So they run out and see this great golden light split the red sky before a villager stumbles from the woods. He turns into a demon before their eyes, and they run from the thing. Fair.
Okay, yeah.
And then Velvet sees Arthur standing in some ruins. We get a brief glimpse of someone impaled on a cross of X, like an X of light in the sky.
Okay.
And then Velvet wakes up. More on the X of light later, by the way.
X marks the spot.
Yeah, it's weird. So
who's the treasure?
Velvet is in a prison of sorts.
Of her own design,
no,
of her own mind.
An actual prison.
Okay.
Like you are in a pit, you can't leave. There's a ladder, but it's locked, all that stuff.
Okay.
A demon falls into the pit and she kills it easily. Her left arm becoming this clawed thing of corruption and magic, via which she eats the demon.
Wait, I'm sorry. What? That was okay. I did not realize we were going to be entering a universe where limbs consume. This is something I'd expect from Control.
Not like chomp 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 eat, like absorbs. Yeah.
No, I figured it was more disturbing than that.
So literally all we know now is what she says, that there are only two things that matter to her. The taste of blood-soaked flesh, which makes sense. She's literally being fed demons to survive.
Yeah.
And revenge on one man in particular. Then we have another cut.
Wait. This sounds like a cross between Conan and Inigo Montoya.
So the opening threw me. And the problem is this opening is dark and kind of awesome in that like gritty, dark way for a JRPG that you don't get very often. And then you cut. Then you cut and you go through what is probably like the most boring tutorial thing ever.
Oh no.
Yeah.
See, well, and it's funny you say that they're usually not gritty dark, because when I think of like JRPGs, one of the ones that comes to me is the Persona series, which we haven't covered. We can't really cover until we get it PlayStation or something like that.
I think there's a couple on PC. I don't know. I could be wrong.
But they're the ones where when the fourth one in the series where essentially you summon demons by essentially mimicking something that looks like Suicide Act.
Yeah.
Which was literally triggering for some people.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's usually the most you get. Most JRPGs are like right now. You and little buddy are going through Dragon Quest.
Yeah, Dragon Quest, Scars of Arcadia. A lot of Final Fantasies are, they may have some gritty aspects to them, but the world itself tends to be just very fantastical, very what some people would call blue skies.
Right, or it's very much heavy fantasy, like Octopath Traveler is very much famously like getting back.
That gets gritty, but yeah.
But it's like it's a side note, and then you move on and you do the thing you need to do for your mission. There's
no like eating demons to survive.
No, that's like if that actually reminds me of we used to actually play in a tabletop where you had to eat demon meat to survive.
Yeah, it was weird.
Post-apocalyptic setting, yeah.
So our tutorial. So I want revenge on one man in particular, and then tutorial. The tutorial is in the past, before all the cool stuff happens.
No, you can't do. Who directed this? This is wrong. You do the oh my gosh, he's gone. You have to fend for yourself in the past, and then you fast. And it was like, little did I know these skills would be useful as I got older. And then you do the I'm consuming demons with my arm of corrupted magic. Yep. I don't know. Very few places can do like, what was it? Prototype did this where they're like, our tutorial is is after you've already gotten your powers. So that way you just know the whole breadth of how everything you can do. And then you're flashing back. Well, okay. Sometimes you can pull that off.
The tutorial is going to explain how she goes from being scared little girl hiding from demons in the forest to being someone who literally eats demons for breakfast.
And then... But yeah,
so that's our tutorial is.
But I feel like they just did the scenes out of order. You know what? That's what I'm trying to say is that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It feels. I'm assuming we're going to start at this point in the live stream for the hour that we'll do.
No, we're going to start after the tutorial section when it gets interesting.
Okay, fair. All right, sounds good.
You will have to play a little bit before we stream, and then the end of the tutorial boss is where we'll start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're just proving my point, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
Literally, this is the game. So I was doing my Patreon blind Let's Play, and I usually do it for 1 hour.
Yeah.
This one was 2.
Right.
Because up until the 50-minute mark, I was like, this is boring.
Right.
Even though the cool stuff has happened, there's no context. Like, the cool stuff you see, there's no context for it.
Right.
So that could be at the end of the game for all I know. Mm-hmm. And then it's like 50 minutes in, now it's interesting. Okay, I'm going to keep playing.
Right. Okay.
So, And we weren't told much during that opening cutscene, so let's run over it all again with some more details filled in as we do our tutorial as well. When she was a child, Velvet Crow and her younger brother Laphicet were saved by her brother-in-law, Arturius Colbrand.
Arturius, but they just called him Arthur for
Yes.
short. Okay.
When a scarlet night occurred and the demon blight consumed their village of Abal, Velvet's pregnant older sister, Celica Crow, is killed by the demon blight through an event known as the Opening.
Okay.
A few years later, Velvet lives with Laphicet and Arturius in the same village. The Opening happened in the ruins that I kind of spoke of, that they saw.
Yeah.
And it's forbidden ground. Basically, it's a giant hole in the ground now.
Yeah.
There's like some ruins and then big hole.
Right.
And this is kind of the boring part where we live the pleasant life. So it's our tutorial section. We're going to let it slide. We've already ripped it apart.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly just hated going to the same forest 3 times.
Right.
I will grant them the third time was much more interesting.
Well, it sounds like it should have been a chain of events that happened in the same visit then, too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I had...
It could have been done better.
I'll play this and I'll let you guys know on the live stream how I think about it. I'm just judging it from afar.
We do get some bits of information here. Laphicet is almost always sick. And Velvet takes care of him. And they are great siblings for each other. They care about each other and all that stuff. In fact, he has the 12-year sickness, so called because kids with it don't live past that age. And he's a bright kid. Even knows about all the new science and technology, like compasses.
Oh, that's a new technology. Oh,
Yeah.
my gosh.
So the compass, like he literally talks about ships could take this and navigate across the ocean. And she goes to see what? Like,
Right.
He goes, we don't know. Like,
Exactly. But he's not going to live past 12.
right. And I think he's 11 at the time.
I'm going to cry. Why you do this to me?
So it's been 7 years since Celica died, and the Scarlet Knight returns, with the entire village succumbing to the demon blight.
Oh, great.
Velvet can't find Laphicet anywhere and runs through the town dodging the demons. She can't injure them. She's not an exorcist, nor does she have the aptitude to be an exorcist.
Okay.
And everyone knows that the Scarlet Knight is coming. It's not a surprise. It's literally she has to go find Laphicet because he's not around. He went to go get flowers for Celica's grave to celebrate the Scarlet Knight, like it's the anniversary of the death. And
Right,
everything.
exactly.
And while they're there, they decide to go to the cape where the ruins are, and they get attacked by a demon. Arturius comes by, kills the demon, and then Velvet wakes up and is trying to find Laphicet again. Mm-hmm. Velvet soon approaches the ruins, relieved that Arthur has kept her brother safe. However, as she approaches them, Arturius, I'm going to switch back and forth in there, sorry, binds her with an art, basically like a magical attack. Like, binds her to the ground. She's like shackled to the ground with fire, essentially.
Oh, no.
And much to her horror, proceeds to sacrifice Laphicet with that X of light. In the Japanese version, it's literally his own sword. They kind of changed that for the Western release to this magical, weird X of light. But either way, Arturius is the one killing Laphicet.
Are we assuming that this is also what happened to their older sister then too?
We'll get to that later.
Okay.
Arturius, or the X, doesn't matter. Laphicet's body drops into the ruined shrine's depths. Velvet frees herself, literally is so enraged, she frees herself from this chain of fire, whatever, and leaps into the shrine, catching Laphicet with one hand while holding on to the pit's edge with the other.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, man.
And Arturius is there remarking how Velvet always acts according to her emotions and that nothing can save her brother now. And basically stabs her, runs the sword into her hand.
Right. That's what I assumed was going to do the classic, step on her fingers thing.
Yeah. There's this whole thing. Arturius is trying to teach her, the ways of the exorcists and stuff, even if she doesn't have the aptitude. Here's how I live, you should follow these lessons.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like, don't let your emotions guide you, all that type of stuff.
Right. Which, P.S., side note, just gonna get on my little soapbox. I'm sorry, Mystic. That's what I'm gonna do here. Emotions are a useful human tool that should be acknowledged as such. They're not something to completely be shut away and ignored for your entire friggin' life. There are times when acting with them as your only motivation is going to be detrimental, but your emotions are usually a good tool at helping you figure out the world. Barring, other health factors. But okay, I'm going to get off this soapbox now. I just want to say that it's something that comes up a lot in storytelling, this idea that you have to control your emotions. And as much as you can't just be angry and flip tables all the time, sometimes anger can be very productive. Sometimes sadness can be motivating. I think we need to acknowledge that better overall in our storytelling as well as just in our culture.
Yeah, I think when I was playing this, I remarked that it reminded me of Equilibrium, if you remember that movie.
Yeah, oh my God, that movie's so good! And the only reason nobody knows about it is because it came out the same year as The Matrix.
Yeah.
Oh, Equilibrium. If you didn't watch it with Christian Bale, it's such a good, fun sci-fi film. Just watch it. Watch it now.
So Arturius attempts to use her for the ritual as well. Basically, there's this ritual he's doing. But she resists, and the demon blight possesses her arm, mutating it and turning into a demon called a Therian.
Oh.
With the ability to absorb demons. And after gaining this cursed arm, Velvet goes into this mad rage and slaughters all the demons within her sight.
Hey, that sounds like a time when emotions are pretty friggin' useful to me.
And then Arturius tells her to look at her surroundings, and she realizes that all the demons she had slaughtered revert back to the townspeople, among them including her deceased childhood friend, Nico.
So she killed her friends is what he's trying to say?
Like, your emotions have killed everybody, even though they were already demons. Like, yeah.
But they were, okay. All right. Look, so can you explain to me rules in this universe? Once you've turned into a demon, or once a demon has possessed you, there's no turning back, I assume?
I honestly do not know the answer to that question.
Okay, because I'm just thinking back to, of course, my favorite RPG.
I do not believe there is.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. This game was a lot of work to break down, and I think I just didn't catch that question.
I will just say this. And most of the time with demon possession, if you're not doing a one-to-one Christian exorcism belief analogy, the demon possession is permanent and irreversible. Like Dragon Age does it that way. When you think of zombie films, it's kind of the similar thing. Like Resident Evil. So
here's the thing. I think it is permanent, because we do see Arturius also kill a demon.
Yeah.
And so he's not like, your emotion did this. He's killed numerous demons. So I don't think there's any saving a person. It's not like...
But then the reason I bring this up is that Arturius is clearly evil or trying to push Velvet in a certain direction because... If that is true, if once you're possessed, you can't be saved, and it's not like it's an affliction, it's a literal, not only am I possessed, I will now proceed to cause terror and dread, and the only way to stop is to kill you.
I think he's trying to explain why he's doing what he's doing, but we don't have enough information, and neither does Velvet at this point to understand what he's saying.
But that's his fault then.
No, I agree.
I just want to put that in proper context. This is a bad call on his part, or he's just a bad guy.
I think he is doing an incredible evil for a good reason.
But I think the trauma he is now causing to Velvet is worse even than justifying the slaying of demons who were once the people he knew, and even the sacrificing of his own chosen family.
I'm glad you're already identifying with Velvet. This is going to make this so much easier.
This sounds like that she's being manipulated and possibly even emotionally abused prior to this, because you're telling me that Arturius is essentially training her to be similar to him. And if this is the kind of rhetoric he uses to train his pupils, it's I'll say borderline abusive. I'm not a professional. A professional can let me know if it is. But it sounds traumatic. It sounds unnecessary for her to learn the lessons that he probably wants her to learn.
Doesn't matter much. We're not going to see much more of him for a while.
Until she gets her revenge with that arm, I'm sure.
So then she witnesses, after all this, the summoning of the Malachim into the world, including Arturius's Malach, who is called Ceres.
You can explain what Malachs are?
Yes.
Thank you.
That's literally my next paragraph. The Malachim are a race of spiritual beings who use the powers of nature and are used as familiars by exorcists.
So it's like a Patronus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of. We'll get there. They've always existed, but have been invisible to humans until this event, which is called the Advent.
The Advent. Interesting.
Yeah. Velvet is thereafter thrown into prison for demons on the prison island of Titania, swearing to kill Arturius and avenge her brother's murder, which is where we found her before.
Wait, so why is she sent to prison? Is because she murdered?
She's a demon.
Oh, because of the arm. She's now her demon.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And the Malachs helped Arturius essentially capture her and imprison her. And, and now she just... Okay.
After 3 years in prison, eating demons, Velvet is freed by Ceres, who has regained her emotions and broken away from Arturius.
What? Okay, something... so this also kind of leads into this idea that there's something wrong with Arturius. We need to talk about Arturius, guys.
In the years since the Advent, Arturius has formed the Abbey to bring peace to the Holy Midgand Empire. That's kind of where we are.
Okay.
And is seen as a savior by the people for establishing the exorcists.
I mean, I'm sure some people thought the Inquisition was a great idea when it first came to Spain.
Arturius has since been declared as the shepherd of the Abbey. During her escape, Velvet lets the other prisoners out of the prison. So only as a distraction. She has no intentions on saving anyone. If they get out, they get out. She doesn't care. She is Ahab right now. The only thing on her mind is revenge.
So once again, her emotions are pulling her towards an end goal.
Yes.
Now, I can agree with the idea that maybe it's a little foolhardy to just go straight out and do it. But at the same time, we want a compelling video game, one. And two, she's only been in prison for 3 years stewing. And she's young. So
I believe she's 19 at this point.
So that's where my brain goes. Like, she's young, she's stewing, she was traumatized by somebody she trusted at a very young age. Like, I see revenge as a logical option for somebody in her position. Yeah.
Also, like, 19 is middle age when it comes to RPG protagonists, let's be honest.
That's also true. I like playing games where that's not necessarily true.
I mean, we have Drachma, but he's not the main protagonist.
No, he's not. Even like, so it's funny because when you think about it, even in Dragon Age, the origins, at least, that's true, right?
Yeah.
Like that literally that mage is going through their harrowing. That means that they're,
like 18
tops.
Yeah.
Usually a little younger. Like, that is a typical age for any RPG. I think it's just also because it's easier for people to remember when they were that young and they were like...
Can't be younger than 18. Because literally you can go from your harrowing to having a sex scene in Dragon Age.
Correct.
Within a month.
So they have to be 18. They have to be 18. Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, didn't mean to bring that awkward part in there.
So Velvet and Ceres do enter some interesting characters. The demon, and I'm going to mess this name up a lot. It just throws me each time I was writing it. Rokuro Rangetsu.
What?
Yeah.
Rokuro Rangetsu.
Yeah.
That.
And a witch named Magilu. We'll touch on them soon.
Okay, I'll get used to these names, but like, that's a mouthful, Rokuro Rangetsu.
Rokuro Rangetsu, yeah.
Rokuro Rangetsu.
Yeah, there are also some other prisoners who are staying put. Basically, they're finding her ploy a bit transparent. Like...
Yeah, I can understand. Well, especially, so she's 19 and she's like, this is our chance, let's get out. And they're like, who are you? Why do you care? What's
not
up
many,
with your arm?
most run, but there's a few who are like, I'm not getting involved. And yeah.
I'd imagine especially like the older prisoners are like...
Little Stockholmy.
Yeah, that's not Stockholmy, even just kind of like, I'm just going to be back here again.
Yeah. So near the end of their escape, they run into exorcists from the Abbey, particular Oscar Dragonia, who introduces himself to the pair. After defeating Oscar in battle, he attempts to incapacitate Velvet with a dark spell by throwing one of his Molochs at her.
Oh.
Unfortunately, Velvet proves too powerful for the Moloch, and he is hit with Oscar's spell, causing him to experience the blight and become a corrupted dragon.
Whoa. Okay.
The newly transformed dragon goes berserk and attacks Oscar and his remaining Moloch. As it tries to attack Velvet, Ceres blocks the attack with her back, basically like jumps in the way, and is fatally wounded.
So do these spirits, these Molochs, do they look just like
they're
humans?
People. They're
humans?
And they're
Okay.
physical.
Okay.
Yeah, at this point, too.
All right.
Velvet rushes to the wounded Ceres and wonders about her intentions at this point, because, like, you freed me, what's going on?
Yeah.
And Ceres tells her that she needs to be absorbed so Velvet can unleash her true potential. Basically, I need you to eat me.
Oh, my Lord.
A reluctant Velvet decides to absorb the dying Ceres, basically like, all right, I'm not going to apologize for this or thank you.
Yeah, I'm just going to do this because it probably will serve my own end at
Yeah.
this point.
So then, as she's being absorbed, like in her hand, you get a little bit of information as Ceres reveals that she is Celica Crow reborn.
Okay. What the heck? What happened? Can Celica let us know what the heck was going on with the X thing?
Nope.
No?
Nope. Celica does not get a chance to tell us any of that. We do get a little bit of the fact that she has been there watching with like she's physically been there, just not corporeal, I guess.
Oh.
Since her death. Like she's been this other character series, and like now she has her emotions. She remembers everything too.
So wait. So would this mean that all the Molochs are souls of?
Do not know that.
Okay.
But Celica, or Ceres, however you want to call her at this point, says she can't abide the cold and emotionless people because it is only made possible by Laphicet's murder. Because she is Laphicet's older sister.
Right, exactly.
So, and as Velvet absorbs Ceres, she experiences Ceres' actual memories, and again sees that Ceres was there the whole time with Arturius while they were being raised and stuff, and receives this ring from her that allows her to use Ceres' powers. So facing the dragon once more, Velvet uses Ceres' powers to incapacitate it so that she can absorb the dragon with her demon hand. And
nice.
Oscar's watching this like, what? Like horrified that this is happening. She proclaims to him that she will absorb demon, Moloch, and exorcist if they get in her way.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then she uses the dragon's power she just absorbed to send a firebolt towards Oscar and just terribly burns his face. Like,
man. Things that she'll regret 10 years later if she survives this.
So Oscar is taken away by his Moloch, basically like, boop, gone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And Magilu and Rokuro show back up. And they aren't in the party yet, but they are going to be our traveling companions, and they will join eventually. So Velvet, Rokuro, and Magilu, and it is Magilu, not Magilu. She makes this very clear.
Magilu. Okay.
Magilu is probably one of the most annoying characters I've ever had to deal with, but she is also a fan favorite. Like, not a fan favorite, but there's definitely people who do like her a lot.
And unfortunately, because of how helpless I am, all I can hear is Moogie.
Moogie, which is a Deep Space Nine reference. We haven't covered that because there's no... Well, actually, no, there is a Deep Space Nine game. I think it was for...
That's a Patreon one, I would say. But so, Magi will be easy for me to remember.
Magilu, yeah. So the three of them escape the island on a ship, and we're finally done with what I'd called the prologue and chapter 1.
Ah, jeez.
We are going to broad strokes a lot of stuff, but there was a lot of setup and revelations in the prologue and chapter.
Yeah, that's literally, that could be its own novel at that point. Like, it's the beginning of their own series.
Also, one thing I forgot to mention is the Tales games also have... So they have the cutscenes that you would normally expect. They also have like these little interstitials that are optional. You just kind of press a button and like the characters will just talk amongst themselves in like this comic booky kind of way.
Oh, interesting.
And then it goes back to just regular gameplay. It's the weirdest thing. It throws me off every time. So,
that's an interesting way to do that.
So the ship crashes. Because neither of them, like, literally, it's like, do you know how to sail a boat? And Rokuro's like, I know the difference between a sail and a rudder. She goes, I'll take what I can get. Like,
right. At least we're going to crash and survive. I'll take that.
Yeah. So Velvet awakens to find a Moloch who looks very much like Laphicet aiding her. And he's got, like, a compass that he carries with him. And he runs off to the nearest town when she wakes up. And the town is like guarded by exorcists, like the doors are guarded, so they find a separate way in.
Oh man!
And so the abbey hasn't existed forever, but the religion has kind of existed for a long time. In fact, Magilu, at an earlier point in her life, was almost an exorcist.
Oh really?
Yeah, we don't have time to get into the party members in excruciating detail as much as I would like, but we'll run them down in brief. And even though they're not in our party yet, we should cover Magilu and Rokuro.
Right, exactly.
So Magilu, who wasn't going by that name at the time, but we'll just use it in... Yeah. So Magilu is a witch who has innate magic ability and was abandoned by her family for it as an infant.
Oh, wow.
Now, when we say innate magic ability, she could see the Malachim. But, like, before they were corporeal to everybody.
Yeah, okay, before they were
revealed
at the Advent.
Yeah, which I don't know how you can tell an infant can see things that you can't.
Yeah, that sounds pretty suspicious, unless you see it too, and you don't want to have to keep the secret anymore.
So she gets in with the circus, gets kind of treated badly, gets dropped, picked up by an exorcist named Melky or Maven, who eventually disowns her when she fails the final test to be a legate exorcist. She finds a new friend and is eventually betrayed by them to the Abbey for practicing unlicensed witchcraft and is then thrown into Titania.
Is that the jail we just escaped?
Yes.
Okay, Titania.
So...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that is the very broad strokes of her backstory. There's a lot of betrayal in this game of people.
I mean, that's a lot of betrayal for a lifetime in just that one backstory. Jeez.
Rokuro was one of the few who became a demon during the events of the Scarlet Night.
Okay.
Despite becoming one, he managed to retain his bodily appearance for the most part.
Okay.
He basically has like a weird thing in his face with a glowing eye, and his sense of self and reason.
Interesting.
Yeah. When he was younger, he often got into fights with his older brother, Shingure Rangetsu.
Okay.
The sword he carries but never uses is in fact a lesser blade sibling to the one his brother wields. It's kind of like, here's the good sword, all your siblings get not as good, but
right,
yeah,
similar
copies.
Enough, yeah.
And he got into a fight with his brother, and his brother defeated him easily. Like, he had his sword, and his brother had, like, a knife, and that was it.
Okay.
He lost to his brother. His brother tosses him into Titania because he's a demon at this point, so...
Right, but I can't kill you because you're still my brother in theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So... We're not going to really touch on what happens to them in terms of the plot of the game. Like, that's kind of all we're going to cover of their stories here.
We've already gone through a lot, and you're just saying we've got through, like, the beginning and the prologue and everything. We're going to be here a while, it feels.
We are doing a lot of broad stroking after this.
Man, so we're coming back to this at some point is what it sounds like.
I mean, possibly. We could definitely do an extended episode if we wanted to.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's a lot here to go through. So, back to our plot. This new Laphicet. Yeah, this Moloch that looks like Laphicet is Moloch number 2.
Moloch number 2. What?
Catchy name, I know. For a Praetor-ranked exorcist, Teresa Linares. Basically, her Molochs don't get names. They are, you're number 1, you're number 2.
What is she, the Cat in the Hat?
She is in the nearby town of Helloes.
Helloes?
I think that's how it's pronounced.
Hello, yes. That's how I feel like saying it.
And we get the sense that Velvet is still kind of just using people, whatever she needs to just get to her ultimate objective. I've seen some break down the major plot of this as simply Velvet is angry, the end.
Again, it's understandable. It's totally understandable where she's coming from, and it's also totally understandable that it doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
It just means that I can relate to her anger and frustration.
She is not a bright and cheery hero like many JRPG heroes or heroines. And for that matter, our party in general tends to be very self-serving. We are bound together more because we have few options than because we share, like, a common goal. Eventually, we do share a common goal, but it's like we're kind of drawn together because we're all heading the same way.
Right.
This Moloch number 2 will eventually join our party after we face off against Teresa Linares. He is what the wiki calls, and here's a word for you actually, a deuteragonist. Or second protagonist after Velvet.
Deuteragonist. Deuteragonist.
Yeah.
What'd you call me?
So, deuteragonist is a term from ancient Greek playwriting.
Oh, jeez, no. Aristotle, get out of my life. I'm done.
Basically, it's your second actor after the lead protagonist.
No, I get it. It makes sense. It's, of course, just not anything
I just threw that in there.
Experienced.
It has no purpose for our thing, but I was like, I have to use this word.
Deuteragonist.
Yeah.
Okay.
I may be mispronouncing that, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
add us at Twitter.
Yeah. At this point, Moloch number 2 is a brainwashed pawn, a blank slate with no personality of his own who will literally follow any order anyone gives him. We actually see Velvet order him to blast Teresa during a conflict, or she will eat him. And he doesn't flinch at the eat part, but the order part hits him just like a would you kindly from BioShock.
Oh, no. Also, if you don't know what that means, don't just...
Yeah, we'll hit that in a future episode.
We'll just hit that later. Okay.
The few bits of genuine concern and kindness we do get from Velvet at this point is directed towards the character whom she names Laphicet, though we will call him Fee to avoid confusion.
Right.
And that's kind of what he goes by, too, as eventually. He does slowly develop his own personality as we continue on our quest.
Mm-hmm.
Over the course of the journey, we also meet 2 more party members, the exorcist Eleanor Hume and the pirate Aizen. Now...
Okay.
Trying to figure out where Eleanor Hume fits into the narrative is not difficult. She has a longer wiki page than any of the characters, including Velvet.
Oh, weird.
She is a very consistent antagonist, companion, like unwilling companion, and then party member.
So throughout the Tales of series, or just...
No, through this game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So she's hopping in and out.
Yeah, she is basically chasing down Velvet and her group of demons.
Yeah.
And eventually is kind of stuck with them for reasons we'll get to in a second here. So, long story short, she lost her family in the Scarlet Night and swore to rid the world of demons. Fair enough.
Yep, makes sense.
Afterwards, she decided to join the Abbey and Arturius' circle and become one of the top 10 praetors of the exorcists. Also, fair enough.
Okay.
During her extermination of the demons, she encounters Velvet Crow on several occasions.
Oh.
Continuously pursuing Velvet and the party, she is treated as suspicious by the party, but is welcomed by Laphicet.
Wait, you mean Moloch?
Number 2.
Number 2.
Sorry.
Yes.
Fee. Yeah. Sorry about that. She later gains the task from the Abbey of observing the party, particularly Velvet and her actions, and this proves to be a turning point for her. Up until this point, she's kind of playing it close to the chest and kind of doing what she has to do. So there's a point where Fee is very badly wounded and needs a vessel to kind of be tied to.
Yeah.
And the only pure vessel around is Eleanor Hume.
Oh.
So Fee is kind of like, basically they have a pact, like they're bound together.
Yeah.
And so it's actually pretty well done because like Velvet and Eleanor are going to have a duel, but Eleanor knows that Velvet's not going to kill her.
Yeah.
Because if she dies, then Fee dies.
Right, exactly.
So Eleanor doesn't kill her either.
Right.
Because she is being honorable. She's like, I can't, because you wouldn't kill me, I can't kill you.
It's not a fair fight at that point, yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of this stuff happens. But because she's having to follow and observe on these orders, she kind of understands, like, hey, all this stuff I knew about the world of demons being monsters who have no reason or thought or compassion or anything. Like, all of that was not true.
Right.
So her entire basically world shatters. And she also sees that the Malachim are not emotionless beings that they can just exploit. Like, this is kind of the idea, like, oh, we can just exploit these people. They don't care. It's kind of like the Dragon Age. The Tranquil. Thank you. Yes, the Tranquil, where it's like, oh, they don't care.
Yeah, it's and the Tranquil are very much subdued because it is an emotional connection that helps mages connect to the Fade and to spirits and everything.
Yeah.
But they're still people.
Yeah.
They just are muted with their. I mean, they want to live, but they don't really have like anything. Like, it's interesting to hear the Tranquil talk, especially in Inquisition. There's one where if a certain person dies, they join the Inquisition, and you're like, well, what's it like being a Tranquil? And they go like, well, at one point I did like animals. I don't remember why, but I did. But I'm more than happy to serve you right now. Like,
it's weird.
It's very strange. Like, it's not. I wouldn't make it an analogy for anything in the real world because it's very much rooted in the idea that magic is tied emotionally to the person who can access the Fade. It's
almost like if you could have a lobotomy that only took out emotions.
Yeah, if it only muted your emotional connection to anything in the entire world, but you still had your basic instincts for survival and continuing, and
all the intelligence you had, like all the knowledge you had, is still there. Yeah,
exactly.
Anyway, we're not talking about Dragon Age. We're talking about Tales of Berseria.
It's hard because like other games, like the demon, there's a lot of similarities with the way that they deal with demons in this game that they do with Dragon Age. So that's kind of why it's coming up.
So Eleanor Hume eventually joins the party on her own accord and sees it through to the end.
The one good person in the entire party, it sounds like.
Well, Fee is also, like...
good, but...
No, like, this Malak number 2 is, like, a pure soul, more or less.
Right.
Like, yeah.
But still, I feel like there's not a lot of moral wrestling going on with Fee because of the fact that they're kind of...
Yeah.
They're kind of... just going on the whims of like, what should I do? Oh, somebody told me something. Let me go. Yeah. It's different for Eleanor, who literally
has to fight and
it's like, I can either continue with cognitive dissonance or I could be the better person and change.
Well, the benefit for Eleanor Hume also is that she's sympathetic from the start, even when she's an antagonist, because she literally is like crying over people who have been struck by the demon blight because like we should have done better to protect them.
Right.
So she's already a sympathetic character even when she's your enemy.
Yeah, I am only cleaning up because somebody else or we all have failed.
Yeah. So as for Eisen is the first mate of the Ifred pirate group. Living by his own belief, he searches for his missing captain, Van Ifred. Along the way, he meets Velvet and joins her to fight their common enemy, the Abbey. His knowledge and experience in the underworld greatly help Velvet in her quest for revenge. He is a Malak, and my rundown doesn't do him justice, but he's also in the sequel, too. So
he's a Malak pirate?
So, again, this is one of those things that kind of changes Eleanor Hume's view, is like, oh, the Malak are emotionless, and here's this guy who's a pirate, and
and has genuine free will. Like, it's even more of an argument than say Fee is, where Fee's kind of like, oh, okay, I'll do what you say. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I have purpose. Yay. And kind of like, then you've got this guy who's like, I have goals and dreams and people to plunder and a abbey to defeat.
Yeah. So. And that's about all we're going to do in terms of side quest, subplots, and character drama, because we have to get back onto our main world building stuff here. Continue our quest, and we're going to bypass all the backstabbing in this game as well, because there's a ton of it.
Just out of curiosity, do the people in your quote unquote party backstab you at some point?
The people I've mentioned do not.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware, there is one character who does kind of join you as a protagonist, but they're working for the Abbey. They are they're from a race called the Norman, which is like a subspecies of Moloch. They're kind of like chibi creature things. There's also another whole race called the the Cats, which are Katz. They are anthropomorphic plush cats that it's weird.
This is so JRPG.
Yeah.
I can't. 2 episodes in a row we deal with cats that can read. This is an interesting thread.
But unfortunately, these ones talk and make all the cat puns you could want. Like every single word that could potentially even be stretched to include the word meow in its pronunciation is.
I am in so much pain right now for knowing that exists. I just, my liver, it hurts.
So the party eventually learned that Arturius, Oscar, Teresa, and Legate rank exorcist Shiguri Rangetsu and Melchior Maven, all these people we have mentioned already, are trying to purge the demon blight by erasing all emotion from humankind.
Okay, no, let's never do that, please, at all.
To do this, they need to summon Innominate. The Empyrean of Suppression into the world. So we're going to diverge from this little plot element to discuss the 5 Imperium in one sentence. There are 5 in total.
Okay.
1 is the leader, and there are 4 others, each representing one of the 4 elements that provide the foundation to the world. You know what those elements are just based off of Greek mythology, I'm sure.
I was just going to say, or if I watch The Fifth Element, which I have.
Yes, right. Innominate is... Innominate is Innominate is the leader of the other 4.
Okay.
So, the group learns through an ancient tome that Innominate, depicted as a dragon with 8 heads, is connected through earth pulses, basically areas of the world where mana is highly concentrated, to 7 Therians, which are demons similar to Velvet. The Therians devour demons whose energy is then absorbed by Innominate in order for him to be summoned into the world.
This sounds like we went from like culty demon stuff. Well, I shouldn't say culty, organized religion demon stuff, to now we're getting into like culty Cthulhu-esque level existential horror summoning. Like this suddenly got a little less Dragon Age and a little more Eternal Darkness.
Yeah.
Like this is insane. And so essentially the Abbey is a whole conspiracy to summon this pseudo-demon thing.
It's not a pseudo-demon. It's kind of like this... It's kind of just this force of nature personified type thing. It's strange.
Okay.
So, through a lot of back and forth, wins and losses, basically all of the gameplay stuff, collecting the we're not collecting orbs, but like the go do all this stuff so that we can get to the end part thing. It's basically like the busy work of go get the Therians that are out there. Arturius, Oscar, Teresa, Shigur, and Melchior are ultimately successful, actually, with Innominate taking on the form of Laphicet.
Oh, no. So wait, is the Moloch we have reminds Velvet of
Laphicet,
but it's not Laphicet.
It's not Laphicet.
It's not like the older sister Moloch that she absorbed.
We'll get there.
Okay. All right.
It is also revealed to the group that Demon Blight is actually an impurity called malevolence, generated by the negative emotions of humanity.
What is this, Ghostbusters 2?
Which can turn humans into demons, and that demons in Malachim are visible only to humans who profess resonance in them. Basically, you have a certain resonance, you can see stuff, which is why certain people can see, like why Magilu could see stuff and everything. Right. So due to Arturius' actions during the opening and the advent, the latent resonance in humanity was amplified, allowing for demons followed by the Malachim to become visible.
Wow. Okay.
Through the course of the journey, Fee, the Laphicet Velvet kindly adopted and brought with her, is revealed to be the reincarnation of Celica's unborn son, which is why he looks similar.
Oh, and also that explains why he's kind of, he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, he's never been, he's like, these are limbs, and I never got the chance to really figure out what they do. Oh my gosh, these are relationships. I don't know how these work. Like, it explains so much.
Let's go back in the past and explain some things that we kind of didn't cover because we didn't know them. Like, we're learning them now in the game.
Okay.
So, Innominate requires 2 pure-souled Scarlet Moon sacrifices to start being reborn. And then the Therian energy is siphoned into him, which allows him to be reborn in full. The 2 pure souls that were sacrificed to him were Celica's unborn son and Laphicet, 7 years apart. It was not intentional, actually. So,
okay.
Artorias went into the shrine ruins we saw at the beginning of the game to save Celica. She had ran into there. And she took a blow from a demon while trying to protect him. Basically jumped in the way as a demon was attacking him from behind.
Out of instinct, yeah.
Right, which forced her to fall into the depths of the shrine. And he's consumed with grief over this happening. And he's approached by Melchior, the same who disowned Maggie Lou. Who revealed that Abal's inhabitants offered him and his family, basically Artorias' family, to the demons, explaining that the reason upon which they acted was also that they could escape and hide.
Okay.
Just then, a bright light emerged from the shrine's depths, surprising Artorias, who noted that it must have been in this place that the Empyrean that they were looking for was located, and Celica and her unborn baby were then reborn as Malachim. And Artorias forged a pact with Celica's Malach reincarnation, Ceres.
Oh.
Angry at people's selfishness, Artorias declared in that moment to put an end to the world's suffering with Melchior's help, intending to resurrect Innominate and use him to strip emotions from people, which will result in a lack of benevolence, therefore eliminating the threat of demons.
But that also eliminates joy, right?
I fully agree with you, but like I said, he's doing a great evil for at least some shred of a good, like some desire for something good.
No. Okay, all right. Yeah. Getting back to Dragon Age comparison right here. And we're getting to spoiler territory where, like, essentially, you've seen the end of Trespasser. You have a problem with the egg. The egg is doing the same thing Artorias is doing right now. Both are unforgivable.
Right.
Both are things that should never have been considered. Those are not things you should do. Those are not cool.
Where's this voice coming from?
It's my, oh my gosh, I'm so frustrated, but I don't know what to do with it voice. I don't know what I'm doing with my voice right now. I'm just really mad that there's this idea that we're supposed to justify Arthur's...
Oh no, I think it's an absolutely terrible idea. It's an absolutely terrible idea. It is cutting off your nose to spite your face. It is tossing out everything good about humanity to save humanity. It's not what should be done.
It is almost Pharaoh level bad.
Yeah, but
the only reason it's not Pharaoh level bad is because at least life isn't killed off completely.
Right. So now, Velvet, being a Therian herself, is able to produce malevolence in her arm.
Yeah.
When as she absorbs demons and other creatures, and is even declared by the Abbey and the populace at large as the Lord of Calamity.
I mean, cool. I'd wear that crown. Sure, why not?
So Velvet's rage kind of keeps pressing her forward and fighting for the one thing she believes will deliver her resolve. And she nevertheless holds on to her former self, though, in vulnerable moments, often showing a tenderness that surprises her companions who only know her current self.
Right. So she is not completely... I think the reason this happens, too, is because she doesn't have anybody leading her towards a path of darkness. She's choosing a dark path.
Right.
Because the warm part of her justified it. It's not...
And I'm covering this to offset... like Arthur and his, like, we don't need emotions. The only thing driving her is her emotions.
Right.
So.
I mean, yeah, and again, I think it's really good at juxtaposing that they're both kind of bad, but what kind of bad would you prefer in the world?
Yeah. And she is racked with self-loathing, believing herself irredeemable, calling her a selfish, horrible girl, and all the
because Arthur told her all those things.
And all the party members disagree, and each of whom throughout the course of the game expresses admiration for her passion and basically her still existing humanity through all of this.
And this is why I was saying what Arthur was doing was basically borderline abusive. You're essentially telling her that who she is not good enough, and essentially, to a certain extent, never will be good enough.
Right.
That's just kind of part of her personality. Like, I get it. Maybe if you're an excitable person, you know, and I say this as an excitable person, which is hopefully why you find my commentary entertaining. But as an excitable person, you do need to learn when to curb it back, when to keep it low, when to basically wait till express yourself till later when you're in a safer space. But at the same time, that excitability, that passion, that drive is such a good character trait to have. You can hone it into doing something very positive for the world, which Velvet, I guess, in theory, is kind of doing right now.
Right. She never does overcome her self-loathing. So
a lot of people don't. I'm not even get on her about that.
And she does admit that she still loves Artorias for who he used to be.
Who she thought he used to be.
Right.
Well, I mean, I guess in the sense of when he lost his wife and unborn child, that part of him officially died.
Yeah.
But she was like, what, 5, 6 when that happened?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Like, she was very young, so she never really got to know who that was.
Well, it's 3 years, 7 years. She was like 9 or something.
9.
But, yeah.
Okay, maybe she kind of still remembers a little bit. But still, I don't know. It just...
Yeah.
Anyway.
So... either way, she resolves to kill him to avenge herself and to save the world from falling under innominate suppression.
I like that. That's the second reason. I'm going to get revenge. Also, saving the world is a great bonus to that.
So in order to defeat Artorias and Innominate, they pursue each of the exorcists, defeating them and using them as vessels to awaken the other 4 Empyreans.
Okay.
Then they face Artorias, who merges with Innominate in the final battle before Velvet kills him once and for all. And Innominate, who, remember, is taking on the form of Laphicet, begins to go berserk, and Laphicet decides to seal herself away with him, both consuming each other for all eternity as he feeds off her malevolence and she feeds off his power, turning it into malevolence.
Whoa, that is so bizarre.
It's a really bizarre scene, too, because he literally just bites her. And, like, all the parties like, what?
Who bites? So,
Innominate, as Laphicet, bites, like, her shoulder as, like, she's hugging him. And then she's like, well, we're just going to have to, like, basically, she's like, we're going to go away and just...
Laphicet, she or he?
He. Her younger brother.
Her younger brother.
Yeah.
Bites...
Velvet.
Like,
yeah.
Okay. I'm like... I thought you taught. I thought it was Nominid was biting.
Yes, Innominate is taking on like the soul and form of Laphicet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so Velvet bites.
No, Velvet is like using the hand to suck power from him.
Okay.
Turning it into malevolence that he is then feeding off of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
So
I'm so confused.
It's an Ouroboros. It's basically a self-sustaining cycle.
Ouroboros. So who and the 2 energies in this Ouroboros are
Velvet and Innominate / Laphicet.
Okay. I totally didn't hear. For some reason I didn't hear that Velvet was part of that for a minute, and I was like, wait a second, I am missing something. I'm trying to listen and I just not getting it.
So Fee becomes Innominate's replacement because Innominate is now sealed away with Velvet.
Wow.
And with the help of Oscar, Teresa, Sugar, and Melikor, who are reincarnated as the 4 Empyreans who will serve Fee as his basically elemental lords, essentially.
Wow.
There is some solace at the end for Velvet and Laphicet as Fee kind of creates an everlasting dream for them to remain in. Kind of happy siblings that were never going to have normal lives can have a happy life.
Exactly.
Like... last major plot point, Fi then transforms into a benevolent dragon and purifies the land and people of malevolence without making them lose emotions.
Wow.
At the cost of humans are not able to see Malachim anymore. And then the world comes, like, the next plot point is 1,000 years in the future in Tales of Zestria. So
whoa. But that makes sense too, because that is like, he'd be one of the purest souls.
Yeah.
So he would probably, he would just be like, we don't have to think in these binary terms if we just clean it up a little bit. Here we go.
So
yeah. This is bonkers.
when I was got to the end and I was like, their feet, like, this is messed up.
This is why, I mean, like, I'm sure somebody out there is like, Safi, how come you couldn't keep up with that? I can't. There's just so many nouns and concepts being like thrown my way. I just could not keep up with that. And then it's great though, because it is a redemption arc for Velvet in a very strange, not happy ending kind of way.
It's like pseudo semi happy.
Yeah. Like it's only happy based on perception.
Yeah. Now that whole thing about them being in a dream.
Yeah.
Is kind of, I've heard that it's canon.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't pick up on it, so I'm wondering if it's beta canon or if it's like from developer notes or something.
Oh, okay.
Or if it's just based off of like there's artwork in the credits or something like that. Like,
right.
Yeah. So, but that's what I've heard and on Reddit and stuff, so I figured it was a good way to work it in.
Right. And it just feels bad that these two siblings are then brought to essentially oppose each other and constantly fight each other.
But, well, now it's like they both, like, they're kind of stuck in this forever eating each other weird cycle thing, but I don't think that's necessarily, like, bad. Like,
well, it's like getting back to like the myth of Sisyphus. Like you can think of it as a punishment, but you're also
stuck with the sibling that you wanted to be with. Like, so the thing I did kind of gloss over is Laphicet isn't killed.
Yeah.
By Artorias.
Oh.
Laphicet agrees to it so that Velvet can have a life without worry, because all she does is worry about him. So he sacrifices himself for her. And then she goes on her revenge because he's gone from her life. Like, they do...
That's very gift of the Magi.
Yeah.
Like...
So,
Pete, so if you're going to sacrifice yourself for somebody you love, make sure they know first.
And literally, Artorias tells him, don't let Velvet know.
Yeah, because Artorias is just full of bad ideas. Just absolutely full of bad ideas. Like, if Artorias just said, Velvet, this is going to be really painful... But first of all, Artorias' idea, totally bad. It's awful. It's an awful plan. But if, let's say Artorias' plan was going to be something that would rid the Malavents without getting rid of people's emotions. And he just went to Velvet and he goes, your brother is essentially sacrificing himself because he feels this is for the greater good and he sees himself in a future he can't see, kind of like a compass. This is something that he would like to do, and I want you to know because you're close to him, and I want you to know that it's like, or Laphicet has this thing, and he confesses it.
That would require Arthur to have emotions. He does not.
And it just goes back to my earlier point.
Right. There's also this whole line about, like, they have this line that keeps coming up, like, why do birds fly? And I don't remember the reasons that Arthur gives at the beginning, but at the end of the game, literally, Velvet's like, I have an answer to your question of why birds fly. Because they can.
Exactly.
Like,
because there doesn't need to be another reason sometimes. It's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
So my brain.
I don't. So I like
tossing. Done philosophy 101. Like this is
I
crazy.
like doing JRPGs.
Yeah.
In some ways because they kind of really stretch fantasy sometimes, and they kind of bring out some really crazy ideas.
Yes.
But JRPGs also are really tough to cover in an episode because there are usually so many names and so many
there's so many proper nouns that you have to keep up with because they're usually very conspiratorial. I feel like even like when we covered Jade Empire, I feel like there was even part of that as much as
going back.
Yeah, it's way back. I know it's not a JRPG, but it's an RPG with a bit of an Eastern influence because it was about martial art style in general and kind of like drawing from those types of mythologies and stories. And I think that there's just this sense of a grand, bigger drama that involves a lot of little characters. I feel like a lot of old stories that I have known and heard of from the continent of Asia, which of course is covering a lot of ground, so I'm not an expert at all. But they do involve a lot of like these little side connections and stories. It is much more of a tangled web than, say, if you talk about, when we talk about how, the kind of stories even before you get to, Judeo-Christian storytelling, there is a lot more of like, there was a man and there's a story and it involves maybe 3 or 4 characters, or like even Grimm's fairy tales.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing here because I was playing with friends the other day, and literally one of them goes, we were playing Guild Wars 2, and he goes, "There was a man, there was a dragon man," and we did Trogdor, and so when you said "there's a man," and my brain just went right there. So
no, it's okay, but I think
kids, if you know who Trogdor is, ask your parents.
Yes. I think I'm very uneloquently stating that the importance of characters and storytelling in, more of like I don't want to say Western, I want to say European mythology is kind of more based on maybe 1 or 2 heroes and 1 or 2 other main people. And a lot of it, when I hear it in mythology from, I'm specifically thinking of The Journey to the West.
Right.
And I'm also specifically thinking of, I don't like calling it mythology because Hinduism is a real mythology, but I know of the kind of stories, they're holy stories. So many gods and demigods and side characters and humans that are blessed and everything. It is a lot like if you read the Ramayana and all of those. It's just there's so much going on. You can't summarize it quickly. It's just, like Journey to the West has 4 main characters essentially. I mean, yeah, you technically have the one king who's going on the journey. Yeah. But it's so epic.
I don't think it's the fact that there's a lot of characters though, because I've been thinking about, as you've been talking about this also, like Mass Effect has just as many characters. I don't know why Mass Effect doesn't feel okay. I would say that the amount of world building craziness that a lot of JRPGs have would be equivalent to the Mass Effect trilogy as opposed to just one game. Is it that they just do so much more in them?
Yeah.
Or is it that you and I know Mass Effect so it doesn't feel as big?
But I still feel like Mass Effect
is a little bit more focused maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like it's like one good guy.
Not to knock JRPGs as unfocused. Yeah, it's a different style of writing and world building.
Like one good guy and one, I don't know. Maybe I'm overcomplicating it. I could be overthinking it. I really could. Or I could also be pulling on a thread where, because I haven't studied the difference between these types of storytelling, that I don't know exactly what I'm noticing. And that's fine. I'm willing to admit ignorance in that. And maybe I should stop trying to compare with what little foundation I have.
Okay.
But it's just, it's an interesting comparison that I've noticed in my head, and I don't have the time to write the thesis PhD story. I mean, paper for it.
Maybe this could be a Patreon episode at some point then.
Jeez, I do not have 7 years of my life to give to that research.
No, but us just kind of discussing the different world building.
I would love to. I'll read up on some storytelling theory.
So that's Tales of Berseria.
Which is the prequel.
Which is the prequel to Tales of Zestiria, but came out after it. Yeah, so.
Okay, no, that is a lot. It was a cool ride. It'll be interesting to play it, yeah.
In the next one, in Tales of Zestiria, like, they're not Moloch anymore. Now they're Seraphim. So it just gets weird. Anyway, we're going to cut it there. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, thanks so much. We'll catch you next time. And catch us on the live stream.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.